and welcome to this special broadcast event brought to you by Censis Technologies. My name is Gabrielle, and today I'll be your host. Today we're joined by ladies Susie Vocal, Supervisor of Gainesville VA Medical Center, Deborah Van Royen, Operations Supervisor of Sterile Processing at Hennepin County Medical Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Kelly Swales, Director of Clinical Service at Censis Technologies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into a little introduction. So if you could each go through and give us your name, your facility, and how long you've been using CensiTrac.
I'm Deborah Van Royen. I've been at Hennepin County Medical Center for almost 10 years, and I've used CensiTrac at my previous job since 2008.
Since 2008. Awesome.
Hi, my name is Susie Vocal. I'm from the Malcolm Randall VA in Gainesville, Florida, and I've been with the VA for 9 years, and I've been using CensiTrac since I joined the VA.
Since you joined. Wow, incredible. Awesome. And Kelly, how long have you been working with Censis?
Almost 6 years. But prior to that, I was a customer, and I've used CensiTrac since 2009.
Oh, wow. So you've got lots of experience in this area.
Yes, I have experience as a scrub tech, so coming from the OR side, as well as supervisor, manager of sterile processing through the years, and then also as a peri-op and clinical business analyst, where I still use CensiTrac.
Look at you. You know CensiTrac from all angles then. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you for the introductions. It's wonderful to be talking here with you ladies today. So to go ahead and get the conversation rolling, let's go ahead and take some time if you could each tell us how or what you look for when searching for a surgical asset management technology within your facilities. And just following up with that, how is Censis specifically able to address some of these needs?
Being user-friendly, you get more buy-in with staff because it's easier for them. A lot of people were not back 2008, were not very computer savvy, a lot of them. And the easier it was for them to learn the system, the more positive results we had with them using it properly.
Yep. And for you?
For us, it keeps us easier to track instruments. Also, it keeps us compliant with our sheets, and also with patient safety.
Absolutely. User management and patient safety, both very important aspects to this. Kelly, do you have any?
Yeah, if I can add to that, one thing that I think is very beneficial with CensiTrac, or when you're looking to select a tracking system, is making sure that it's not only going to help you track your instruments, you're going to know where they are throughout your facility, but it's that big compliance issue. When you look at AMI guidelines, AORN, there's so many things out there, and what great way to have assistance with that is by utilizing CensiTrac. So that if I miss a scan of sterilization, I'm going to get a pop-up saying, stop, this item hasn't been sterilized. Because if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. Along with that is if you have to run, you do have to run a Bowie-Dick test in your sterilizer every morning. The minute that sterilizer scans the first time of the day, you're going to get a pop-up reminding you need to run that Bowie-Dick test. So there's little things like that throughout that it's just great because we're human, we make mistakes. So if we have a little alert saying, hey, you need to do this, how fun and how perfect.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of great safeguards like you're describing, and we are all humans, so that's always helpful. That's a very great feature to have. And Censis is so capable of just targeting these individual needs at each of facilities that it's used at. And so my next question is in regards to its performance in terms of support. So how critical is service and support when selecting a provider for your hospital's surgical asset management system? And also, if you could please describe some of your experience with Censis's services teams in particular, and just what kind of stories you have related to that.
So I've always had positive feedback and assistance with their help desk if I had any questions, but in all the years we've used CensiTrac, I've never had it go down. So it's never failed.
Absolutely, well, that's great. And Susie?
For us as well, CensiTrac has never failed for us, but for sure it's helped us greatly with tracking our instruments and it keeps you accountable also.
Those are some strong words. Censis has never failed us, and those are some great words.
Well, and that's even as a customer. I mean, and I tell customers too. All my years of using CensiTrac, I never once had it go down. And I've used it with an on-prem server and a cloud server. So for both of them, and knowing that you've got that. And we all know that things can happen. So you always have that paper in the cabinet so you can record something if you need to. But happy to say in all my years, I've never had to use that paper.
Wow, that is incredible. Some very strong words there. So, and you know, CensiTrac can be utilized in just so many different ways. So I would like to know how your facilities individually use CensiTrac in order to optimize workflow efficiency throughout your facility. Susie, let's start with you.
Yes, well, we use it throughout our whole entire department. In the cool room for sterilization and our vPro also, we're able to track our loads, what is on our loads, if biologicals have failed or passed. We basically, it's like Kelly said, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. But for us, it's better also because we went paperless. So everything is in CensiTrac. If you want to pull up, let's say a load from last week, you're also able to do that. So also with our scopes, we have the scope tracking system too. We're able to put our channel check results, our leak test results, and it tracks that scope from start to finish. And also keeps it lets us know where that scope is, whether it's in the GI clinic, the ENT clinic, then in the preparation area with our count sheets, where you're able to, what's in that tray and what's not in that tray. So that's where it keeps you accountable to what you're putting in that tray.
Yeah, and knowing what is or what is not in that tray, it's so very important. And this accountability, it's where it keeps coming up. And this is what it helps with, accountability and what you have, the tools you have at your disposal. Deborah?
Yeah, the same thing. We have our setup at the hospital that I'm at is kind of unique. We have 3 distinct separate sterile processing areas. So CensiTrac really is key to us being able to manage instruments. We have 37 clinics, I think, altogether, in-house and off-site. And so when we scan things out to them, when they're scanned back in, it just really helps define the tracking of our instrumentation. So very
3 different ones. That's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot to keep track of.
CensiTrac is very helpful for you.
I couldn't live without it.
Oh gosh,
at our facility.
yeah.
No, I could not. Awesome. Absolutely. And and they'll say, well, we want to do this case. How many scopes do we have? Or how many trays do we have? How many of these cases can we put on a day? And it's easy just to go in, put the name of the tray in, and it populates your trays.
Rather than pulling out a Post-it note and you're like, hold on, let me check.
Let me go count. Yes.
You just pull
absolutely.
it up with CensiTrac.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so clearly there's just a lot of important factors that go into making this work so efficiently within your facility. So this next question is a little bit more regarding the detail regarding this efficiency. So how important is it to have a software that integrates directly into your SPD ecosystem? So we're talking sterilized washers or scheduler interfacing. What software do you directly integrate into CensiTrac or Censis's portfolio with? That's the first question. And what benefits have you seen from these integrations with those?
As each phase, it seems like it's grown. In the very beginning, it didn't interface with the washers. It didn't interface with the SteriAds. It didn't, interface with your sterilizers. So each phase, it just gets rid of more paper trail, and you have more clear documentation that you have a history you can go back and track. I mean, it really is very beneficial that way.
And you're also using OR scheduler, so you have an interface with your Epic, so they can see how many, or they can see exactly what containers they need, so like your needs list. And then the status of those containers along with your case cards for picking.
Everything is scanned and accountable. Like the trays are scanned to the case cart, the scan to the patient, scan to decontam when it's done.
Oh, you scan to decontaminate?
We scan to decontam. We scan every phase.
Everything.
Every phase. Yep.
Awesome. Susie?
Same thing in our department. I've seen the different phases from when I first started at the VA, which is really great. It just gets easier because as we went along, it's paperless now. But it's also, for us, it's very beneficial. For instance, if you're looking for a tray in the case cart area that a surgeon wants right away, you can look in CensiTrac and it'll tell you exactly what shelf that tray's on. Instead of looking through the whole service for a tray, it makes it really, it's very beneficial.
So it saves a lot of time there. 'Cause,
Yes,
yeah, you don't want to be wasting a lot of time going looking for this. And following up on that specific question, what lessons did you learn, if any, about? Oh, sure, go ahead.
Okay. And Susie also has our LoanerLink product, and
Yes.
so that is interfaced with their CensiTrac account. So as I call it, every SPD or SPS department dream come true, and ORs, because it can save so much time. Your OR service leaders no longer have to email and call these reps and say, hey, here's a surgery, I need to have this brought in. Everything's automated. That rep gets a ping right on his phone. He knows what to bring in. Yep, I got it. You can now look and track it all the way through. He gets a reminder, bring your sets in. They arrive, you check them in. He can look, you can look all the way through to see where they're at in the whole process. And then when they're ready to get picked up, he gets a ping again saying, come get your stuff, it's ready. And you could link that right to the patient so that you know exactly what sets were used on which patient. And it's, huge patient safety, a lot of customer satisfaction with the vendors, the OR, your SPD staff. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've seen that all at your facilities as well. And it's just that real-time management that it just comes in handy in so many areas of this process. And I was going to ask, following up on that, if you learned any lessons, or what lessons did you learn from that integration, or for people who are considering integrating? Any advice or?
I would say for us, it's just we're able to track exactly where that tray is, that scope is, even our loads, what has been put into the load. And I think it's also very beneficial when new staff come in. You teach them the CensiTrac way, and it's flawless. It saves a lot of time in a department.
I agree with all of that. It's very beneficial. I like to be able to go into and look what was in the loads that they ran last night, So they may be in a process of being put away or put on case carts.
Absolutely. Yeah, that real-time management is one of the best things about CensiTrac, from listening to your experiences and hearing these stories. And there's so many actionable insights coming from you guys. I thank you for that. And I'd love to learn more about the quality of service, specifically with CensiTrac or Censis's clinical services team. So if you could each speak to your own experiences with Censis's clinical services team. What was the quality of service? Did you enjoy it? I'll rephrase the question for you. I would love to learn more about the quality of services you received with Censis. So if you could talk a little bit more about your personal experiences with Censis's clinical services team, like what kind of services did they provide to you, and what were the outcomes from these services?
Well, for us, I know we had a class where CensiTrac actually, it was a real-time class where we actually got to interact and ask questions on how to navigate CensiTrac, how to check if your biological passed or didn't, how to make sure that you were documenting it correctly, how to look at, let's say if you wanted to pull up a load from last week, he answered all our questions.
That's wonderful that they offered a course like that, because, that's actually an excellent point. This service is flawless, as you said. It works very well, but only if it's done correctly, information is input correctly. So it's very important that they followed up with you to make sure that your facility was doing that. So I love that. Deborah?
When we had implementation at both in 2008 and then in 2012, they were great. They're very, very good with the staff, very engaging with them, encouragement. To a lot of people, you'll get the pushback, but they have a great installation teams.
That's wonderful to hear.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I think with Susie too, I think what you were referring to our CensiTrac Essentials for Management course, that class. And so that is a class that we offer every month, and it is, due to the pandemic, it's currently being held virtual. And so it's 2 days, and it is, think of it as A to Z of CensiTrac. So it's for leadership, anyone that works in leadership in your facility, that they can attend this and learn all the ins and outs and functions and modules and all the fun things in CensiTrac. And hopefully we get to go back in person someday.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been great. Whoever attends, they receive CE credits for that. And if you're certified, always great to get that. And it's been a huge success to where we started doing it monthly. It used to be quarterly, but it's been such a big success that we're filling up some months.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear, because that's a great tool to utilize for sure. That's awesome you offer that. Now, how important is it for you both to work with a partner who is educated on the latest regulatory guidelines related to sterile processing and patient safety? Is that an important factor for you?
It's extremely important, and everything changes. It's a continually changing field, and it's very important, I think, that for our implementators and trainers and everything, that they're very on top of all of that and current.
Mm-hmm. So, awesome. And Susie?
Same thing with us. It's important, it's critical. It holds us accountable, and it's very important for patient safety.
Absolutely. And how important is it, this is along the same lines, for you to work with a partner who's with clinically trained and accredited professionals? So kind of along the same lines.
Well, they understand the process.
Yeah.
More than just somebody coming off the street as a salesperson. I mean, when they're certified and everything, they have some part of background of, I mean, it's not like an everyday thing, but they have very, very knowledgeable about the process flow.
Awesome. And Susie?
I mean, even if somebody comes in, a new employee, we're able to train them, and it's the same for everybody, as long as you're able to track everything from start to finish. I mean, it holds you accountable, and it's instrumental in patient safety.
It is very instrumental. Kelly, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, here we are at the HSPA conference. I'm here with two of my educators because we want to stay up on everything. And we know one person can't do that. So that's why we work as a team. And everyone on our clinical team is certified, as well as then we're always attending webinars, conferences. Amy ST91 just came out, and so we're all kind of tackling that and reading through it, and ooh, this changed, oh, that changed, and we have a lot of fun with it, and that's how we learn.
That's awesome. That's all you can ask for too, is just that craving knowledge and always wanting to know more. And that's an awesome quality to have for sure. And all these are important services that attribute to the quality of CensiTrac, and just something that is critical that when it comes to data management, as we've been talking about. So this leads me to my next series of questions, which is, how has Censis helped your facility optimize and improve the data within your systems? And then just also, how has this improvement affected your facility in terms of the data management and its effect?
On the end of instrumentation and trays, the management, like you can, sometimes they'll say, well, we need more trays, we need more trays. Yeah. You can go into Censis and see how often those trays are actually used. Do you really need them, or is it a scheduling? Can the schedule be changed to work better with the amount of trays that we have, instead of just going ahead and automatically purchasing thousands of dollars worth of instrumentation. So that's very beneficial. I order the instruments for the OR, so that's a huge asset for me to use.
Yeah, you see those numbers.
I see those, yeah.
And what have you told me is your favorite report?
Oh, the missing instrument. That's my Bible. I print it out and they say, oh, she has her Bible today.
And Susie?
For us, yes, the missing instruments report, because our instrument techs can then order instruments that are needed, but also we can look at productivity as well. Oh, wonderful. And then as well as keep track of all our instrumentation and scopes in the system from point A to the end user.
Wonderful. And now we've talked about quality of experience within service, efficiency. So can you please tell me just what are some of your favorite features individually that are available in CensiTrac?
Missing instrument report.
I was just about to say.
That's mine. That and productivity, because you'll hear grumbling, about this person doesn't do anything and this shift doesn't do when you get to the shift wars. So that's very helpful as far as assignments too. Extremely helpful, because you can say, oh, well, from 7 to 10 a.m., they really didn't do anything in this area, so maybe we can reallocate staff for 2 hours someplace else. So I use that a lot.
And I can add to that because when a facility that I worked at, I would have a 7 a.m. huddle and there was 5 people there. And I'm thinking, well, you all came in at 6, but what are you doing? So I was able to run the reports through CensiTrac and see, okay, what is being done? What is being scanned? And there was little to none. We had multiple departments, and so yes, the one that wasn't open at night, they would come in and run the Bowie Dix and the wash tests and that, which is great, but that doesn't take 5 people. And so I was able then to, using that information, and I, share it with employees, saying, I'm looking at this and I need to know what you guys are doing in the morning, because according to CensiTrac, there's really not a whole lot going on. And came to the agreement that, yes, you're right, we need to stagger those start times so that way we're more productive.
Wow, that's very helpful.
And it saved us probably from having to hire more staff.
Yeah.
But just by staggering those times.
Absolutely. I was going to say that probably affects that as well with your staff. And Susie, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say also productivity, but also my favorite too is the reports for supervisors. I'm able to then look at an example, the scope module, to see if my staff are entering the leak test, the channel checks, the visual inspections completely. So there is a complete report. And then also on the motivator side, if they've completed that process as well. And if there's something missing, I'm able to let the staff know so they can fix it, or this prevents the scope from being reprocessed. Yeah. And then also in the cool room, we can also see those reports to see if everything's been entered correctly. Because if we don't have a complete report, then it never happened.
Exactly. Yeah, you need those complete reports, so that's definitely helpful for that process. Now,
can I add to that too?
Oh, absolutely.
So, people always ask me what are my favorite modules of CensiTrac. So number 1 would be our sequence. So every container has a life cycle: decontam, assembly, sterilization. It goes to a storage shelf, patient use, an OR, inpatient, comes back to decontam. And so one of my favorites there is the out of sequence. So if you miss a scan, you're going to get an alert. And so, for example, we talked about that, the sterilization. And if I go to put something on the shelf, I get a pop-up and it says, stop, this item hasn't been sterilized. I look at it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought this whole rack was, I didn't even realize it, because we're human, we make mistakes. And huge patient safety, because I just stopped unsterile items from leaving my area. And then the other is our quality feedback. So everyone has quality feedback paper forms, or they have some form of electronic program. It can take a lot to fill that out. Along with that, when you're filling that out, is someone will put on their TNA tray. Okay, but I need to know which number of the tray, because we have 10 of them. So where was the issue? The nice thing about this, I can just scan a barcode that says no pre-clean. Scan that container, scan that barcode again. In a matter of 3 scans, less than 5 seconds, I just create a quality feedback report. Wow. Now I can run reports looking for trends and patterns and identify. So in my old facilities, I couldn't figure out why certain times of the year we would see sharps coming back in our ER trays. And I went to my staff, I go, what am I missing? Like, why can't I figure this out? And someone said, it's when we get new residents and med students in the ER. And I'm, oh my gosh, you're right. There it was, conversation with the director of that program, educating the med students, the residents, and huge decline. Wow. So it's being able to use that information to keep everyone safe, as well as then saying, hey, let's figure this out. Why is this happening? You can use it for holes in wrappers. No pre-clean. So there are times when you get sets come down to decontam and they have not been pre-cleaned. So you could do a quality feedback. Chances are in decontam they probably aren't, because they don't want paper back there because it's dirty paper. And someone's not probably going to take the time to go out to a computer system and log it in because you're all in your PPEs. But if you're in there and you're with CensiTrac, I create that quality event that just says no pre-clean. So I scan no pre-clean, I scan my container, I just created a quality event in less than 5 seconds. Now you can set up so that report goes, let's just say, right to the OR every morning. So when they come in, they see, oh, we had 3 trays yesterday with no pre-clean. Well, how wonderful, because they can bring it to morning report and say, we had 3 ENT trays yesterday with no pre-clean. Someone would, maybe they'll speak up and say, oh, that was me. We were out of pre-clean in the room and I didn't know where to find them. Well, that person's going to learn today and it's not going to happen anymore.
Exactly.
Versus waiting for a month-end report, quarterly report, or just people not reporting it until they get fed up.
This goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, which is what are your most used reports in CensiTrac? Yeah. You, Deborah, you can tell us again very passionately.
Yes, my missing instrument report. That's one of the first things I look at every morning. And the productivity, really, I use those more. On the supervisor, I use that more because, like, every morning I have to do assignments. Yeah. You know, and when people call in, you have to look at the schedule, you have to look at everything. So those are the 2 that I use the most.
The most, and your favorite.
Yeah,
the ones you use the most and your favorite.
Yeah, it is.
And Susie?
For me, it would be the productivity, and again, being able to look at the reports for certain sections, like the cool room or scope processing, to make sure that everything's been entered correctly and complete.
Awesome.
And the best part of that, you talk about your favorites, is that when you create those reports in CensiTrac, you can then go just click the button that says favorites.
I was going to ask.
And now it's at the top of the screen. It's like, here's my favorites. So kind of like when I go to my cell phone and here's my favorites of who do I call the most, kind of that same thing. I'm not scrolling through my contacts. I just go to my favorites and click my mom, click my kids.
Click missing reports.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I also really like having right in front of me, I can put an instrument number in and know what trays to check that lives in. So then I go back and look at the tray list and what one's missing, and it tells you what tray it's missing from. So I like that feature. I love that feature. I use that a lot.
Now, did your reports help you improve or change any department processes? And if you can, please share specific examples or specific stories to that.
With the productivity, it has, like, we realign the scheduling for our staff, which saves hiring additional people. So we'll move them from 9 to 11 o'clock start, because you look at, that's when you're heaviest from 11 o'clock on in decontam, and then follows through for assembly. So that's, the productivity has helped myself a lot.
Awesome. And for Susie?
For us, the productivity, and then also in the cool room, because we went paperless, so a lot less paperwork, to QA, to store, to then have to put into boxes and put into storage. So it saves a lot of time.
Oh, wonderful. Now, one of CensiTrac's amazing qualities is that it offers its ease in communication. We've seen this time and time again. So how do you use CensiTrac yourselves to improve that communication with your OR? And do you have any specific examples of this? Susie, you want to start?
For me, the one that I've experienced the most is the OR calling down for a tray. We want to get the tray to the patient as fast as possible, and being able to track exactly where that tray is saves a lot of time. We're able to get it up to that particular room so the patient can get their surgery.
Yeah, and saves lives a lot quicker.
It does,
for
yes.
sure.
Yeah, it's really the same feature also, because I remember way back when it first started, we would have to go up and down the core looking for the instrument tray, and you could like scan them with your eyes and do it 2 or 3 times before you could actually find the tray you were looking for. And now you just have to put the name in and the location populates, So it just saves an enormous amount of time.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been through that, where you're looking for a specific number or specific item, and you just keep looking and looking and you can't find it. So it really optimizes time, and it saves that time that you could be using to get to the OR in time. And did you have anything to add to that, or?
No, I'm good.
You're good. All right. All right. Let's see. Awesome, ladies. So quality matters, especially when it comes to audits. So how does CensiTrac make it easier when it comes to prepare for quality audits of your department, especially like the Joint Commission audits? Deborah, would you like to start?
So the Joint Commission, every visit you don't know what to expect. So being able to go in and show them, like your sterilization loads, you don't have the old paper trail like we used to have. So they're always very impressed with being able to track instruments. They'll say, how would you track a wet load? How would you, and you can go in and easily show them where the trays are at, the process they've followed, where they were scanned to a location, whatever. If there was something on a load or a fail load, whatever. Yeah. So just all the options that we have in there to use is what, is very beneficial to all the facilities. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Susie?
Same here. It's just, to me, it just saves us a lot of time. You're able to pull up any load, any scope, any log, basically, because now it's paperless. So it saves you time from having to pull that month, that box. You can show them, you can go right to the reports for that date, that year, whatever the inspectors want to see, and it's all ready for you. It's very efficient.
I just here at HSPA talking with a customer, and she just told me that they just had their Joint Commission inspection or survey. And so when they were there, they were asking questions and they were pulling everything up in CensiTrac. Yep, showing them everything. And she's like, I love this. Oh my gosh. She goes, and she told them, you have the best sterile processing department I have ever been to, and you have the best records. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So that was wonderful to hear.
Yeah, it is.
And even there's so many things that we do in the department that are for compliance, as well as just regular tasks, that you can still utilize CensiTrac for that. So for example, every morning you are to clean your washer screens and inspect the spray arms. You need to document that. Mm-hmm. Well, you can document that in CensiTrac, and you can put in there the time, how long does it take to do it. So now that's adding into your productivity. So it's not just a matter of, if you put it on paper, great, yep, wonderful, but now you gotta store that paper. And if things get wet, things get damaged, and the time it takes you to write out your name, the date, and the time, because right there you could just have scanned it and other information. Everything's in real time, and then when Joint Commission or whoever comes through and asks for that information, in a click of a few buttons, you can have that report.
Wonderful. I love that it gives you a history, and then it also taps into the productivity levels pretty much no matter how you do it. Well, so to close out this discussion, we've talked about quality and service, communication, streamlining departments and efficiency, all these things that CensiTrac is so wonderful at. This brings me to my last question, which is, would you recommend CensiTrac to another sterile processing department, and why would you recommend CensiTrac? Deborah?
I absolutely would. I love CensiTrac. I've never had it fail ever in all the years I've used it. It's a huge efficient time saver, efficiencies. Keeps the OR kind of happy too when you can give them an answer right away instead of taking forever to, scan and look or walk and look for items or whatever. But yeah, it's very. I love CensiTrac.
Great. That is very high praise. Thank you, Deborah. And Susie?
Same here. I just think it's very efficient, and it helps the end users as well as our customers, and our staff, and you can keep track of everything. I mean, it beats having everything on paper. And what I like the best is you can track anything and where it is at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I can add to that. Everyone tells me I live and breathe CensiTrac, which I do. My kids were raised, I wanted to travel and educate, and CensiTrac was the first, or Censis was the first place I sent my resume to, because I was like, nope, I can't talk about, educate something that's not from the heart and I don't truly believe in. And so kind of looking to, okay, what do I want to do? What companies would I work for? Censis was right there, number one, and sent it in, and here I am. And everybody knows, or everyone knows how I feel about CensiTrac, and that I just love it. And then even I go to about 75 customers a year and visit them, and I continually hear over and over, excellent customer service, our client manager's great, clinical team, they came on site, they did an assessment to see how we're utilizing our CensiTrac, then came back and gave us a week of training, and just because we want everyone to succeed. And so we're always here for everyone, and we all work together.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful to hear. Well, a big thank you to you all for being here today and sharing your experiences with CensiTrac. This conversation was wonderful to hear all of your experiences.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us today with Censis Technologies as we discuss CensiTrac with Deborah, Susie, and Kelly. Thank you so much for being here with us today.